Welcome to test, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so as promised, I have the position here, the puzzle that I had for you guys, and like I said, the theme was remove the defender. Now I had a guess of queen takes d8, and queen takes d8, or actually queen takes f1, queen takes f1, and then rook to d1, rook to e1. But you know, like I said, the queen is not forced to take that rook. It just automatically means checkmate. So the answer is actually queen takes f3. Now it seems kind of crazy because you're like, wait a minute, you know, like why would I be taking? It doesn't seem like you can get anything from this, right? You're like, how can I take the, you know, how can I take the bishop right there? Like, how does that result? Well, it's really interesting, and you'll see here in a second here. So we got g takes f3. Of course, you know that's forced. So we have rook to g6 check. King has to go to h1. We see bishop to h3, and so we see the rook moving away. You know, of course, if you have rook to g1, you'd see bishop to g2 check. The rook would have to come down and this rook would swing up, and then it would be, you can choose either one you want to take with. So the rook tries to move away. So we have bishop to g2 check, king to g1, only move, bishop to f3 check, you know, king to f1, only move. And we see rook come to g2. So the queen would, you know, come back to try to maybe defend with d3. So we would see rook takes f2 with check, you know, defended over here by the bishop. And so king to g1, only move. So we'd see rook to g2 check, king to h1, and then we'd see rook to g1 checkmate, because as you can see, that is a double check. So the bishop is checking as well as the rook on g1. And of course, as you guys know, anytime you have a double check, you know, the only way for the king to go, you know, to deal with that is to move. And, you know, like as you see here, the king doesn't have the ability to do that. So it was a very, very, very hard puzzle. I mean, it wasn't easy at all, and there's so many different variations you can go into. But you know, after queen takes f3 and g takes f3, you know, checkmate is completely forced in all different variations. So I have for you right here the round 2 game between Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen. And like I said before, you know, there were all wins during this round. And so, like I said, this is the second game. And if you hang out with me to the end, I'll have another puzzle for you from my book. So it's like I literally have puzzles all day. So I'll be giving the answers at the beginning of the video, and then I'll be giving a brand new puzzle at the end of the video. So hang around for that. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get into this game. And so we have e4. E5. I'll run through these first moves pretty quick. It's you know, it's something that we've seen before. So we have knight to f3. We have knight to c6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5. We got castles, knight to f6. We got d3. We got d6, c3. So we have the Italian game starting off. We have the Juco Piano and then the Juco Pianissimo right now. So you know, quiet game or very quiet game. You know, all well-known theory. So we got h6, we got rook to e1, we got castles, we got knight b to d2, a5, all stuff we've seen before, all pretty standard stuff here. We got knight back to f1, bishop to e6, bishop to b5, knight to e7, we got d4, bishop back to a7, and so you know, we see knight to g3. We got knight to g6, and so you know, this is stuff that we've all seen before. I mean, you know, it's always interesting how you end up with this same type of, you know, knight complex on the you know, the f and g squares and stuff. So you know, we see h3. You know, we don't want any knight g4, bishop g4 stuff coming in. So we got c6. So bishop back to d3. We have a4. Just trying to make sure that, you know, we prevent any expansion on the queen side. You know, a lot of times when you castle on the same side, you'll just see action going on the other side of the board, because, you know, of course, you don't want to do a lot to compromise your king's position on your own side. And so we have bishop to e3, so rook to e8, got queen to c2, got b5, and we have b4. And so b4 is the novelty of the game. It's never been seen before. You know, we've seen c4, I believe, once or twice. But we've never seen b4. And so, you know, of course, with the move b4, it invites an en passant capture. And so that's what we see in the game. So we see a takes b3, We see so A takes B3 en passant, and then A takes B3, and so we see queen to C7, and we see rook to A6, got queen to B7, and we have rook A to E1. And so you know, we have a lot of pressure. We have a lot of pressure coming on this B7 bishop, and also, you know, we have kind of ideas of discoveries with, you know, either D5 or D takes E5, you know, discovering an attack on this bishop here. So we sidestep that with bishop to B6. So we have rook takes A8, rook takes A8, rook takes A8, queen takes A8, and now we do have D takes E5, and so we have queen to A1 check here. Now, if we just back up to when we saw, you know, after A takes B3 en passant and A takes B3. You know, we did, you know, some of you guys might be looking at the situation and being like, well, why don't I just save the bishop right now? And so, you know, just kind of showing you the issue immediately going into bishop B6. Like I said, we have bishop to B6, and I'll show you how it's kind of a little bit different than what we saw a second ago. So we'd see rook takes A8, queen takes A8, D takes E5, bishop takes E3. You know, bishop takes F6, bishop back to F4, trying to, you know, preserve the bishop. We see knight to H5. And as you guys can see, a big difference between this position and the position that we saw before was that the queen was actually able to come down here on A1 with check and force a concession from white. And in this particular position, it's actually very, very horrible for black. Because I mean, you're down a pawn here. You're going to be down 2 pawns because I mean, you can't capture because of knight to F6. You know, the position of the pieces just aren't quite, you know, the same. So that's why we saw, like I said, that's why we saw Magnus Carlsen go C7. So like I said, we do have D takes C5 in this position. And so we had the queen coming down with A1 check. And so bishop back to F1. And so we see bishop takes E3. And so we see something similar to what we saw before. You know, E takes F6, bishop back to B6. We see F takes G7. And we see knight to E5, and so we see queen to D2. You know, of course, you know, if the king just stays there, you know, bishop, queen taking H6 is going to look pretty nasty. And so we see knight takes F3, G takes F3. But in this position where we had knight to E5, a very strong continuation would have actually been, you know, knight to D4. You know, of course, you know, if you take with the bishop, you know, you're just going to take back and you're going to have a really nice pawn center. So, you know, the best try is going to be, you know, pushing B4. We'd see queen to D2, queen takes C3, and then queen would take H6, like I was saying before. You know, of course, you know, you're going to have to bring the knight back to protect against checkmate. But it's just a really dicey position for black to be in. So, like I said, we have, you know, G takes F3. And so we have king takes G7, king to G2, just trying to step away from that, you know, try to step away from that pin that we have on the back rank here. And so we have B4 like the idea a second ago. So we have knight to H5 check. We got king to G6, knight to F4 with check, king to H7, knight takes E6, pawn takes C3, you know, trying to give ourselves a nice little pass pawn here. And so we have queen to F4, not caring about, well, actually, yeah, you had to move the queen anyway. So not caring about the taking of the knight on E6. And so we have pawn takes E6, queen to F7 check, king to H8. So we have queen to F8 check, king to H7, and we have E5. Now, if I back up here to this position, if you guys want to go ahead and stop the video real quick and see if you can find the most insanely killer move in the position, it's given as much as 13 plus in this position. It's something that Wesley so actually kind of missed in this position by pushing E5 a little bit too soon. So like I said, if you want to stop the video real quick and take a look and see, I'll be waiting for you here. All right, cool. So for those of you that recognize that, you know, you have a light square bishop and this king is on a light square through this pawn, if you found bishop to D3, you're a gangster and thug life. And so, you know, it's really hard to actually defend this. I mean, you have really two ways to defend it. You can go queen to D1, and then you would see queen takes D6, you know, just a simple thing. But also, if you did try to maybe block with E5, this is like almost mating. I mean, you see bishop to C4, you'd see, you know, D5, you know, really the only legitimate way of blocking checkmate on you know, H8 or on G8. You know, you see pawn takes d5, queen to e1, trying to give you a nice little counter attack on this pawn here with the bishop. And so we see bishop to d3 and e4, bishop to e4. Queen would have to take because the king is actually stalemated, and we just see f takes e4. So you definitely don't want to go into that. And so, like I said, we have e5, and so queen to d1, queen to f7 check, and we kind of see a lot of shifting around for the next like 15-20 moves. So just to kind of run through them real quick: queen to e8 check, king to h7, queen to d7 check, king to h8, queen to c8 check. Trying to do a little zigzag, maybe trying to pick up this bishop here on on b6. And so we have king to g7, queen back to d7 check. And, you know, d5, e5 push actually kind of puts black and white into like a draw. So it's it kind of throws the whole advantage away a little bit here. And so we see queen to e8 check. We got king back to g7, queen to e7 check, king to h8, queen takes e6, queen to d4, king to e8 check, king to g7, king to e7 check, king to g8, king to e6 check, king to g7. And so you see we're doing a lot of kind of shifting around and stuff right here. And so we have queen to f6 check, we have king to h7, king to e7 check, king to g8, king to e6. So we're doing a lot. Like I said, we're flirting with a draw here. King to g7, king to d7 check, king to f8. Little variant, you know, varying a little bit now. Queen to h5 check. You know, so we have king to e8. We have king to queen to c8 with check, king to e7. So now we have the concession e takes d6 with check, queen takes d6, queen to f5. We have queen to d4 and queen to c2. You know, we have to definitely you know, protect against checkmate here on f2. You know, so even late in the game, you know, the square is only protected by the king. And so we have king to g7 or queen to g7 check, king to h1, queen to e5, and so we have bishop to d3. So queen to so we got queen to c or bishop to c7. Sorry. You know, of course, with the super direct threat of you know, queen to h2, just smacking the queen in your face. You know, with check. So we have king to g2, queen to h2 with check, king back to f1. We have queen takes h3 with check, king to e2, queen to e6 with check, blocking with bishop to e4. So we have bishop to e5, making sure we protect that nice pass pawn on c3. And so we have queen to c2 or queen to a2. So queen to d6, queen to a7, king to f6, queen to h7, queen to d2 with check, king to f1 only move. And so bishop to d4, so just steadily just, you know, increasing the pressure with this checkmate, all these different checkmates that we have here. And so we have queen to g6 with check. We have king to e7, queen to g3, protecting that mate. All right, so we have bishop to f6, queen to c7 with check, queen to d7 blocking, trying to, you know, trying to see if we can't trade pieces down here. Might be a little bit better for black here. And so we have queen to f4, we have h5, queen to e3, queen to d4, queen to f4, queen to d6. Black really wants to trade queens. They're like, dude, trade my queen. Get my queen. And so we have queen to e3. And so we have c5, bishop to g6 with check with the queen. All right, so we have king back to d8. So we have queen to e8 check, king to c7, bishop to e4. We have h4, king to g2. And so we have queen to d7. So queen back to h5. You see white is like never wanting to trade queens. They're like, dude, I don't want to ever trade queens with you, dude. Let's not do that. So king to b6, very strong move. This actually gives black a nice little advantage here. So we have f4, queen to e6, queen to g6. And an interesting try for black would have been actually to go king b5. And then after queen e2, you know, you get the king in the most ideal square here. To try to, you know, attack this pawn on b2. But like I said, we do have a queen to g6, so king to a5. So the king eventually does come to a5 here. And so we have bishop to f5, so queen to d6, you know, queen to e8. So we have king back to b6, so bishop to e4. And so we have the king kind of dancing back where it started from. And so we have, you know, king to c7, queen to a8. And so queen takes f4. So we have queen to c6, you know, and of course, you know, we have king to d8 only move. I mean, you can't move back to b8 because you just have a checkmate here on b7. And so we have queen to d5 with check. So king to e8. So bishop to g6 with check. King to e7. So we got queen takes c5 with check. Queen to d6. Queen to e3 with check. And then we have king to f8. And king to f8 is actually mating. It's going to force a checkmate coming up. And I'm not sure exactly when Magnus Carlsen saw it, but it's something that you'll if you don't see it already, it's something that you'll be able to see here in the next like move or two. So after king to f8, like I said, black is in an actual mating net, and there's no escape from it. So we have queen to e8 check, king to g7 only move. The queen comes to f7 with check, so we see king to h6. Only move, of course, you know, if king to h8, there's a, you know, queen to h7 mate, and so we have queen to h7 check. The king comes to g5, and then we see queen to h5 with check, and it's in this position that Magnus Carlsen actually resigns. Like I said, there's not a way to you know, to do away with checkmate. Checkmate is coming in the next move because king to h4 is the only move, and then you will be delivering checkmate with queen to f5. And so, you know, kind of a long game. It's 94 moves. So, you know, preferably, you know, you do a video on a shorter game. But, you know, I thought it was kind of nice. And it was also, you know, I got my people in the Philippines and they're team Wesley So. So, you know, I wanted to show a game where Wesley So won again. You know, for the happiness of my viewers here. You know, like I said, that is the round 2 game between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley So. And as promised, I have another puzzle for you guys, and it is this one here, and it is the theme is what is the theme? The theme is blockade. And so you know, usually, to give you guys kind of a little hint, usually you use the knight. The knight is the best blockading piece. So if you can produce a situation where the knight is going to be blockading, it's going to be a nice one. This is it's considered basic in the book, but as you guys can see, there's nothing basic about this. So that is that, and I appreciate you guys stopping through, subscribe, and give me some comments and like, and I will see you guys next time.